All right. Hello and welcome to Cuyahoga Arts and Culture's 2023 Project Support Panel. I'm Julia and I am here with fellow staff Jake Sinatra, our co-chair, as well as my team behind the scenes, Jania, India, Laura, Jill, and Meg. For audience joining us online, you can find the captioning by clicking the live transcription button at the bottom of your page. Thank you to our panelists for serving on our interactive public panel, learning about our process, applicants, and funding criteria. And thank you to our listeners who are joining us online. Cuyahoga Arts and Culture is the local public funder for arts and culture in Cuyahoga County. Our mission is to inspire and strengthen the community by investing in arts and culture. The goal of the project support grant making is to promote public access and encourage the breadth of arts and culture programs in our community by supporting Cuyahoga County-based projects. Before we begin, we want to acknowledge that the land we stand on and the place that we call Cuyahoga County is land that was claimed by the United States government through force, displacement, and treaties negotiated in bad faith. We acknowledge those of the Shawnee, Miami, Erie, Ottawa, Potawatomi, and Haudenosaunee Confederacy, whose lands we stand on, and the thousands of Native Americans representing over 100 tribes who currently live in Northeast Ohio today. And we thank the Lake Erie Native American Council for helping us to develop this land acknowledgement. We also want to take a moment to lift up CAC's value of equity. We choose to lead with racial equity in our work because the creation and perpetuation of racial inequities is embedded into government and grant making. We confront the white supremacy that resides in our work because racial inequities across all indicators of success are deep and pervasive. We also recognize the power and potential that organizations who produce arts and cultural programming have as bearers of culture. These institutions have the power to write the narrative about who belongs and who is valued. We encourage arts organizations to connect with resources to advance equity in your own work. And you can visit cacgrants.org/equity to learn more. And so before we get started, I'd like to introduce Jake Sinatra, who's our Director of Grant Making Strategy and Communications, with some words for our panelists and applicants.
Thank you so much, Julia. I just, on behalf of CAC, wanted to take a moment to say thank you to our panelists. We thank you so much for your willingness to help us bring to life this open and transparent panel process, which is crucial to how we do our work here at CAC and how we bring arts and culture support to Cuyahoga County nonprofits, and ultimately those programs to life with residents. So today you're an extension of our team. You help us live our values through this process, and we look forward to learning with you and from you today. Project support is about supporting the breadth and depth of arts and culture in our community. And we also thank our applicants whose work is diverse and spans the broad definition that CAC has for arts and culture. And we thank them for their efforts throughout this application process. Lastly, I just want to thank my teammates for their work, really not just today, but over the past year on our policies, our guidelines, hours of technical support, and assistance to our applicants. And so thank you all, and we look forward to our panel review ahead today. Back to you, Julia.
Thank you, Jake. So at this point, I'll ask each panelist to introduce themselves. Please share your name, your gender pronouns, where you're located, and your professional connection to arts and culture. And on the chat, I'll paste our order here so we can keep it moving.
Hi, I'm Celia Hughes. I'm the Executive Director of ArtSpark Texas, which is located in Austin. I've been involved with the arts, running ArtSpark Texas for 21 years, but before that, working as a theater producer, film producer, musician, artist. I'm delighted to be here and loved reading all of your applications.
Hi, thank you, Julia. I'm Aisha Khan. I'm a founder and director of an organization working with diaspora artists in America in Philadelphia. We're actually, yes, based in Philadelphia, downtown. My pronouns are she and her, and really excited to be part of this panel today.
Hello, my name is Devonna Paisley. My pronouns are she, her. My location is Erie, Pennsylvania. I'm connected to Cuyahoga Arts by the Erie Arts and Culture organization, who I work for as the Community Outreach and Engagement Associate, and I'm happy to be here.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tom Werder. I'm the Executive Director at Morris Arts in Morristown, New Jersey. I go by he, his, and we are a local arts agency that serves Morris County, which is in the northern central part of the state, about an hour from New York City. My background is mainly in theater and some modern dance as an administrator, and this is my first job as a local arts agency director. I've been in Morris Arts for about 10 years. Really happy to be back here at CAC.
Thank you all. So now I'm going to walk through how the review process will work for those following along the live stream. As the panel chair, I will introduce each applicant, organization, and their project. Then I'll lead the panel through a discussion focusing on each of our funding criteria one at a time. Panelists will be invited to comment on the applications in relation to the criteria. So we'll have 3 minutes for public benefit, 2 for artistic and cultural vibrancy, and 2 for organizational capacity. Our panel co-chair Jake will keep us on track with time using the PowerPoint on the screen. So we've allocated about 7 or 8 minutes for each application. To keep things moving smoothly, panelists should plan to come off mute to indicate that they'd like to speak next. And I might call on panelists if need be as well. So after we go through the criteria, panelists will then submit their scores, which will be tabulated by CAC staff. To our applicants, please do not contact or address the panel in any manner during deliberations, electronically or otherwise. If an applicant believes that a panelist has presented incorrect information regarding their application, they should complete the information correction form, which is available at cacgrants.org/live and within the audience guide. CAC staff will review the form to determine if it's an objective correction of misinformation. And if it is, we'll be able to read it to the panel and for the public. An example of objective misinformation would be a panelist misstating the number of performances detailed in an application, for example. So this is an opportunity to clarify what was submitted within the application, not to provide additional information. After the panel is complete, audience members are encouraged to participate in the public comments by submitting comments via our online form, also available at cacgrants.org/live. The deadline to submit comments is the conclusion of the project support panel deliberations by tomorrow, the 21st. Applications, scores, and panel comments are not discussed at that time. We will also give our panelists a chance to participate in the public comment as well. So at the end, you guys will each get to speak generally to applicants to share any feedback then. So with that, we'll get started with our first review, which is Berea Arts Fest for their project titled 2023 Berea Arts Fest. So I'll give our panelists a moment to pull up their reviews while I read this short project description. The Berea Arts Fest takes place in downtown Berea, Ohio. The annual community event is free and open to the public, and they plan to present a full schedule of musical and performing artists at multiple venues, in addition to regional artwork for sale on the day of the festival. So would someone like to get us started on how this application relates to the public benefit criterion, which is an organization's ability to meaningfully and authentically engage its community through its project?
I can, Julia. So I found in the public benefit category, the Berea Arts Fest has a large number of community partners and opportunities to volunteer, possibly leading to board membership indicated in the application. That was a good sign of inclusiveness from my perspective. Although I found it unclear how volunteers were selected and how they are representative of the community. There's a quote that said the Berea Arts Fest board has begun to discuss ideas for opportunities to be more inclusive. I found that this application would be stronger if examples of what ideas were being discussed were provided regarding how they could be more inclusive. So just having discussions about being more inclusive is great, but it would be nice to see where those discussions were leading.
Thank you, Tom. I really appreciate. And actually, I just wanted to follow up on the same comment. And for me, it was the first time reading an arts and culture organization on such a big scale. One thing I really wanted to see in this application, because they are around since 1990, and this is their third annual festival. So, and they do definitely showcase a lot of artists, a lot of community, but I really wanted to talk about how the progression happened and how in so many years, this is the third one. So I just wanted to make sure, I just wanted to know a little bit more about the whole process, how they got here.
I'll follow up on that. I really liked the whole idea of the festival, and the photos that you show were a good representation. I would have liked to, I think it would make a stronger application if we talked a little bit about the diversity. I didn't, you mentioned that there was diversity, but I didn't really hear about older adults, veterans, people with disabilities, a little bit more of an explanation of the people that you're actually working with in your organization, on your board, and also representation of your artists. I thought that perhaps if you were not working with those communities, by reaching out more to those communities, would definitely expand your artist pool and bring in new audiences, which everyone is always looking for.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to the Artistic and Cultural Vibrancy Criterion, which is an organization's ability to create a quality project that inspires and challenges its community. Does someone want to get us started here?
Sure. It was obvious to me that the festival is very well loved by the community. It has been around for a long time. I just was wondering, I thought that if the artists were all local, I might have missed this in the application, or if you also bring in touring artists, and if those artists are from Ohio or from out of state, and how they're invited would have helped me to probably better understand the festival a little bit better. But I thought that the festival was, as presented, was obviously very well loved.
I'll add to that. I thought there was good cultural vibrancy. I would have liked to have known more about what the collaborative process was with community members in order to create the festival and to learn from what's happened in the past. They mentioned in the application that there are monthly meetings with community members and board members, but they don't really talk about what the process was like.
Thanks. As a reminder to our panelists, if we can frame our comments by making note of the scoring framework section that we used. So saying, I gave this organization a strong score in artistic and cultural vibrancy, and plug that back in with the comment, that would be great.
Thanks. For mine, I think it was good vibrancy. Thank you.
Thank you. Devona, do you have a comment related to Berea Arts Fest?
I do. So I think I'm going to be a lot more generous through the applications, just because this is my first time, but I love the fact that with Berea Arts Festival, the collaboration amongst the community members and the organization. So I gave it 29 for strong. There is room for improvement in as far as giving us a definition of what inclusion and diversity does mean to Berea arts and culture. But I do, I believe that 29 for me was that they facilitated and showed, like I said, collaboration with the community, which I think is really important, especially when you're doing work like this. So yeah, that's why I gave that score.
And to clarify, we don't need to share the numbers score. We're sharing the category.
Okay.
There. Yeah.
Sorry. Thank you.
Thanks. Sorry, this is our first review of the day, so we're just working on things here. You guys are doing great.
Okay. Thank you.
So we're moving on to organizational capacity. we'll discuss, which is an organization's ability to successfully plan for and manage its project.
I actually wanted to add that. So I stick with my fair scoring. And of course, this was the first time I'm dealing with a lot of CAC applications. So I went in and kind of changed it. For me, it's always like application is an opportunity where you can really talk about your finances, and your application is actually very generous. It gives you room to talk about your organizational health and then the project health, right? So I was really confused about the budget size because the festival budget is 48 and the organization budget was 48. And I'm sure if anyone from peers can talk about it a little bit, I was really confused there. Like, that's the only thing organization does, or they do have any kind of extra help that will, because that kind of brings another point for me, sustainability and succession plan, like how long somebody can do it if every time you have to get a new volunteer and new employees. So that was my comment.
Any last notes around Berea Arts Fest?
Yes, I'm just trying to maneuver my laptop here. I wanted the Berea Arts Fest to know that I actually rated you strong in all three categories. I rated you strong in organizational capacity. I felt that you have a great volunteer base and that your festival leadership is committed. And you know, I did look at. I assumed that your organizational budget is your budget for your festival because it's the one thing that you do. But I think that every applicant that I read, I have notes on budgets and transparency and making it easier for everyone to to understand how the money is being spent. I know you're all spending it fabulously, but I did rate you strong because I felt that to pull off a festival requires an army of volunteers, and that's what I saw in your application.
All right, thank you.
If I could just add to that, sorry.
Briefly, yes.
Yeah, sorry. I did see good evidence of extensive planning, and the event has a long track record. I was a little taken by the fact that there was a statement there were 10,000 attendees. Last year, you know, it's sort of like they don't really know how many attendees there are, and you know, it would probably be a good idea to measure that in some way so that they know if there's more attendees in one year and less in another year. And surveying attendees seemed like it was a new idea, and I don't see any evidence that those kind of surveys are happening. So my scores are good.
All right, that concludes our time for Berea Arts Fest. So panelists, you can make any adjustments to your scores, and we'll turn next to Brite Cleveland in just a moment. So I'll give you a second to pull that application up. So the next application is from Brite Cleveland for their project titled Bright Winter 2023. On February 25th, 2023, Cleveland will celebrate its 14th Bright Winter Festival on the West Bank of the Flats. They will host around 40 musical acts on 5 to 6 stages, and as well as art experiences by combining the talents of professional and volunteer artists. So would someone like to get us started around the public benefit criteria?
Sure, I'm happy to do that. I found the whole program really amazing, and especially we're at the public benefit. Love the idea of doing programming during winter. And I was amazed like how from September to festival dates they operate. So my category for this one, I was really had a strong scoring for them. Really appreciated when the weather is dull outside.
I echo Aisha. So what really stuck out to me was the quote. It is important to note that Bright Winter is not an event for the community. It is an event by the community. I love this. I felt, I scored strong in that category because I felt it was imperative that the community members see themselves in the work. And I love the intention of the collectiveness. And I felt, I put that warmed my heart. I love that that Bright Winters focuses also on a vibrant event in the wintertime. I know wintertime is really, really hard for a lot of people. You know, and I believe that having cool events in the winter keeps the momentum going. That way, by the time fall and or you know the summer comes around, people are ignited. And so I felt that yeah, that I scored strong in that category for public benefit.
Hi, I also scored strong in this public benefit as an individual who fled the cold. I shivered throughout the entire application and thought you were very brave to host outdoor events in the winter. I think it's a great idea. I appreciate the attention paid to creating a space that is welcoming to people with disabilities and anyone who needs to get in out of the cold. And I'm hoping that you will also begin to recruit artists and performers with disabilities as part of your outreach efforts. You may already do that. I just didn't see that in the application, but thank you.
And I didn't rate the public benefit quite as high as my colleagues. I had trouble understanding what community that Bright Winter thinks it's serving. They describe it as not an event for the community. It is an event by the community, and I didn't really understand how it was like who the community was. I was rating in the application that it's 100 something volunteers who help produce the festival. Is that the community that they're serving, or is it all the guests that come to the event? I suspect it's the guests that come to the event, but it wasn't so clear in the application. And I think that made it hard to understand how the community drives the work. So maybe to get a little more clarity on that would make it stronger. And there was a mention made of making efforts to work with other arts nonprofits to distribute free tickets to neighborhoods and communities that are traditionally underserved. I'm not sure if making efforts means that they do that, or if they try to do that and were unsuccessful doing that. So that would have been a little stronger if that was clearer. And then I think that the fabrication of the art installation sounds like amazing, meaningful collaboration. They mentioned Ingenuity Cleveland, but I don't really know much about that organization. So a little description on who that was would help me understand the application better.
Tom, can you make note of where in the scoring framework you landed?
Yeah, sure. Sorry.
Very strong.
It's sort of a high good.
So the framework is weak, fair, and strong. I think your fair is good.
Yeah,
but
high. Yeah, I do. I sort of get those confused.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So moving on to artistic and cultural vibrancy, does someone want to get us started around the discussion here?
I'm happy to do that. I gave an overall score of strong. Although there wasn't mention of the racial and cultural makeup of the community within the application, it seemed like your targeted outreach plans to address the need for more ethnically and culturally diverse groups was strong. You seem to have a good process to seek a wide variety of musicians each year and artists, and I felt that you know, for that reason I gave you a strong score.
Any other notes around artistic and cultural vibrancy? It looks like it's time to move on to organizational capacity.
Sure, I can add to it. Again, I gave this application completely strong because I thought they're doing really focused work. So when it comes to organizational capacity, I really like they're doing great work and in such a short time, and they're making it happen year after year. So, you know, this again, sustainability was very clear in their budget, in the CDP report, everything.
Again, I echo Aisha. I gave a strong throughout the entire application. I believe that in the last 12 years, they have grown exponentially, and you can tell that they're very intentional. And so, yeah.
Any other comments around Brite Cleveland?
I just echo that. I felt that I loved the budget information, showed really good use of the funds. I clearly understood how the funds were being spent.
I scored them strong in organizational capacity, but I did find myself interested in understanding why they raised the price of the admission this year. And I was impressed by the team that they assemble and a small army of volunteers to pull this off. And they have great partnerships in the community. I think it would be even stronger if there were clear methods of evaluating the program. And we can understand that through the application, but I thought it was a strong organizational capacity.
Thank you. We will conclude our time for Brite Cleveland. Panelists can submit their scores, and we will turn next to Friends of the McGaffin Carillon in University Circle. So I'll give you a moment here. So the next application from Friends of the McGaffin Carillon in University Circle is for their project titled Free Public Carillon Concerts. The organization regularly presents Friday lunchtime concerts at the McGaffin Tower, a cast bell carillon. In 2023, they intend to expand further on their offerings by presenting 3 guest concerts in the summer and 3 in the fall. Guests will be North American and European carillon virtuosi. Would someone like to get us started on how this application relates to the public benefit criterion, which again is an organization's ability to meaningfully and authentically engage its community through the project?
I'm happy to go first again. Thank you so much, Julia. This was one of the applications I really enjoyed because this was the whole concept was new for me. And I actually did a lot of research on that. So for Cast Bell, and so I actually scored them fair in this one because I felt like more than audience, the focus was on the like a programming, like if there was a programming, and culture. It was, of course, there's a public benefit if somebody is out there for Cast Bell concert, but I really wanted to know more about the public benefit, like how this culture needs to be more out there than like how Cast Bell concerts are like more. It was like a programming, not like a benefit. Do I make sense? Anybody want to add something to it, please?
Yeah, I can add to that. I felt the same way. I rated it a fair. I needed a little more information about the various community individuals and organizations that are involved with the project and plans as to how these relationships are going to be strengthened.
I agree that the application was fair for public benefit. I found that they talk about they don't really understand who is listening to this music that I'm sure is beautiful and happens in the public square, literally. But I think there could be some more outreach to folks who are participating, other than the folks that sign up for a tour of the tower, and they seem to connect with those people and get some feedback from the people who take the tours. I think it would be stronger if there was more outreach and to the community around where this happens. And it states that music requests are accepted from all, but it doesn't describe how they solicit these music selections.
Any last comments around public benefit?
I gave a fair as well. When I looked at the application and I looked at kind of like the history, I wasn't sure when they began, and kind of giving us a little bit of a telling us a story, a little bit of like how they began, what they're what they wanted to give to the community, what the community public benefit was. So I'm a little unclear on that. That's why I gave a fair.
All right, we will move on to artistic and cultural vibrancy. Again, an organization's ability to create a quality project that inspires and challenges its community.
I gave it a strong. I felt that there was a good plan in place to bring in outside musicians to elevate the incidental audiences, because they are in a space where they, unless they run around with an iPad and interview everybody that's sitting out in their cars, they really don't know who's there listening. So I thought that they're looking at the artistic quality and who they bring in and introducing audiences to different styles of Carillon music was, I gave them a strong artistic and cultural score.
I thought I scored this fair in Vibrancy. I thought there was limited collaboration with the community, and I did think it was great that they invite guest artists and share world folk music traditions. So there was evidence of seeking fresh programming, which made this application stronger. But I think that I get stuck on this community connection.
Any last notes around artistic and cultural vibrancy? We can move on to organizational capacity, an organization's ability to successfully plan for and manage its project.
I'm happy to go. I scored them fair here. Of course, there's no doubt for having the talent there. Again, it's always like who you're reaching out to make it more accessible. And I know cultural, artistic vibrancy, organization capacity, I know they're very separate fields, but I always feel like, how much potential you have for growth, and then your organizational capacity kind of, for me, is important. They provided all the numbers, important numbers, and like how the honorariums and artist fee will be distributed. But I really wanted to see a little bit more like how they plan to continue with programming, or like how you're trying to do it next year. So I scored them fair overall in this application.
Hi, I gave them a strong, a low strong. I felt because I would have liked to have a little more exact explanation of how the CAC funds are going to be spent, and to show a separation of the restoration funds from the performance funds, and more specificity on how the actual money from CAC was going to serve this particular program. I did look at everyone's big data sheet that was part of the application, and I found a disconnect from that data sheet to the application in almost every application I looked at. But I focused on the individual budget information that you provided for your project, and I think that in particular, your organization could benefit from being more specific when given the opportunity to talk about how the funds are being spent specifically on this project.
The final notes around Friends of the McGaffin Carillon. All right, we will finish up our review for them. Panelists can submit your scores here, and we will turn next to Heights Youth Theater in just a moment. So our next application from Heights Youth Theater is for their project titled What's Old is New Again, a 2-production performance series. Between January and June 2023, Heights Youth Theater will present a 2-production performance, including workshops and support for their rising seniors, by providing a showcase opportunity for them following the 2 productions as well. Does someone want to kick us off with the public benefit discussion?
I could do that. I was really taken by this application. I scored the public benefit strong. I noted that they are moving into a new location, and there's opportunities for collaborations with a lot of new organizations, providing access to professional artists and practices. I found it really clear in the application that they respect, engages with, and responds to its community. They mentioned unique voices and gifts of the members, and there's mention of tracking data from a range of their constituents. Results of some of this data would have made this application even stronger. It's a great place to put in the supplied materials some of those survey instruments if you have them. They mentioned their community connections model and the importance of knowing your neighbors, asking questions, encouraging dialogue around timely issues. I think that they get the concept of public benefit.
I am always pleased when I see an application that includes people with disabilities in their definition of inclusion. And so I gave this application a strong for their understanding of their community served and their involvement in the community.
I actually rate them strong as well because I'm really happy to hear my peer fellows as well. Working with youth and then youth with spectrum, for me, bingo, let's do it.
I agree. I gave a strong in this category as well. Again, echoing the sentiments of my fellow panelists, I believe inclusion, especially with people who are living with disabilities, is very important to include. And so, yeah, I think this is a really great public benefit.
All right, we will move on to artistic and cultural vibrancy.
I can go. I gave them strong. Of course, they talk about a lot of artistic vibrancy, and it's very clear. But I really wanted to look at want to talk about cultural vibrancy, like who our kids are coming from, which neighborhoods they're coming. They talked about it, but I really wanted a little bit more. But I went on their website, and website was really good. I always plan to check out the website. But again, overall, very strong application, very clear application. So I gave them strong here.
I will follow that. I also gave them a strong. I too go to your websites. I look at everything you send and felt that in this application, your video clips really helped you to tell your story. And I appreciated that and gave you a strong in artistic and cultural vibrancy.
Devona, any notes?
I was trying to look into see if this was I gave this scoring, but I was kind of confused why I gave what I gave. Okay, so I gave a fair, and I know why I gave fair. So one of the parts of the category was to use equitable principles to engage a diverse team of arts and culture qualified to carry out the project. So I'm looking for more like principles, like what do they stand on, when they're working out in the community and when they're bringing different programming. I'm looking for that. I'm looking for kind of telling us more, what does culture and vibrancy mean to them as an organization, and how do they implement that a little bit with more clear intention.
I rated vibrancy as strong, and I thought that participants and staff have been involved for many years, and I love the stimulating dialogue mentioned as a goal. They talk about participants on the autism spectrum. I found that very encouraging. More specifics about ideas about how they can meaningfully engage these particular participants would have helped make this application even stronger. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, we will move on to organizational capacity.
I rated the organization as strong. This was one application with a very clear project budget, a real understanding of what they were going to use the money for, how they needed it, and they have an experienced staff, and so I gave them a strong scoring.
Any other notes around organizational capacity? All right, we will leave it there then for Heights Youth Theater. Panelists submit their scores. The presentation we'll turn to is Historic Gateway Neighborhood Corporation in just a moment. So the next application from Historic Gateway Neighborhood Corporation is for their project titled Take a Hike. Take a Hike offers free tours of unique and historic neighborhoods in Cleveland, with 16 tours to choose from, and with both in-person guided and self-guided tour options. Visitors can explore the city in some form every day of the year while supporting local playwrights, actors, writers, and historic and cultural experiences. Does someone want to get us started around public benefit?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Dewana, please go ahead.
Okay, so I really loved this idea. Oh, I love this in general, not just the idea, because it's actually there. So I love this because the public benefit is also that, well, I gave a strong in this category, one. But I really love that this is there, right? This is also not only for people who are residents of Cuyahoga, but also people who are who move there and are needing a space to learn more about the community that they are now in. So it's great for everyone, right? So I think that's why I gave a strong in that category. And I love the quote where it says, "We encourage open dialogue around tours, gaining feedback from attendees and tweaking programs season to season to reflect community's thoughts, wants, and needs." So there's room for flexibility and room for growth and change. So I really love that.
Dewana, thank you so much. This is great. So I know, Julia, we have to start public benefit, but this one organization was where like, wow, Cleveland has really vibrant art scene, because this was like, okay, how this fits in arts criteria, because I'm from Philadelphia, right? We have a lot of historic spaces, but nobody cares about them, basically. So for me, this was like really wonderful to see that. So I really overall rank this application as strong, because what they're doing, of course, they are talking about the history and art, but as exactly Dewana said, they're like a central point. People can get there and can meet new people. So for me, being an immigrant, being a person of color, that was like really important just to go and see and understand that. So I really was very passionate about this application. Thank you.
Well, I rated the applicant as fair. I really like the program. I think it's wonderful and all of the people, but I was just confused as to if there was a specific, if this money was going to develop a new hike, because they talked about that, or was it, then there's nothing wrong with paying the people that are participating, but I would have liked a little more clarity in what exactly the application was asking for. But again, I support and agree that it's a very nice service that they're offering to tourists and visitors and people who live there to go learn more about their community.
So is it Celia? I'm sorry, is it Celia? I actually, now that Celia said what she said, I do I do wonder what the ask is. Like I was learning more about what the organization was and did, but there is not a clear ask. And now that you're saying that, I would have to echo that as well.
I rated this application strong in public benefit. I thought that they were focusing on the diversity of the neighborhoods that they highlight, and they engaged their tour guides on planning the implementation and evaluation of these programs. And they describe a relationship with community members that's centered on respect and inclusiveness. And I really appreciated that.
So we'll move on to artistic and cultural vibrancy.
I'll give a little more information. I rated them also fair in this category because I would have liked to have seen how they develop new tours, the creative process to develop, who's engaged, how they go through that, and I didn't really see any of that in this application. That would have made it a much stronger proposal for me if I had seen that information.
Cecilia and Devona, exactly that's what we're talking about. When I saw this application, I was like, oh, it's an arts category, right? So I wasn't sure. I think we all actually talking about the same thing. So I think this is more for CSC, like kind of, and again, Julia, I sent you an email, like I was confused about a few organizations. So this was one of them. But I think what they're asking for, I think they're asking for Take a Hike project where like they give the free tours. But tours, like how this is artistic, and again, I'm thinking aloud with you. They do tours for the artistic spaces, so that's why it's an arts project. Because I do this for a lot of other organizations for peer review. So yes, this was one organization which I was like, okay, what category? It's like you go in, project or arts. So overall, but the organization is strong. Absolutely no doubts there.
So to clarify, CAC's definition of arts and culture does include history. And so both the historic components and the artistic interpretive components of, the actors and playwrights that are developing it, all of those do fall under our definition of arts and culture.
Thank you.
I rated this as strong in vibrancy, and I appreciated the dedication to continuous improvement in this 13-year-old program. I thought their engagement with participants is ongoing. They shared their survey in the shared materials. It's a great way of collecting meaningful data from those who are participating in the program, and I believe that they read those and make changes accordingly. So that was I give it a strong.
Thank you. We will move on to discuss organizational capacity.
I'm looking through the application right now. I actually gave it a strong in organizational capacity. My one note was that the team is experienced, and it would have helped me if the budget had more, and I think it would have helped the overall proposal if the budget had been more clearly defined in specifically calling out the project use of the CAC funds. That would have made the proposal stronger for me. But I did rate it strong in organizational capacity.
Any final notes around Historic Gateway Neighborhood Corporation? Okay, we will move on then. Panelists can submit their scores there. The next organization is In Harmony Therapeutic Services in just a moment. So the next application from In Harmony Therapeutic Services is for their project titled Music Therapy and Rhythm of Life. In Harmony Therapeutic Services will provide weekly music therapy services for Rhythm of Life, an adult day service program for individuals living with developmental disabilities and special needs. Would someone like to get us started around public benefit?
Sure, I can. I actually rate them strong here. Julia, this was again one of the applications I really want to hear from my peers. I loved it, like dealing with adults and adults with disabilities and taking care of them. Public benefit, I really gave them strong. The community they were serving.
All right, I gave this organization a fair. Although there seems to be a clear idea of the individuals to be served, I felt that the numbers served were fairly low for the money that was being requested. And I think that in terms of the community involvement, I know that this project is going to be very beneficial to the participating individuals, but I'm wondering about the overall larger community involvement in terms of working with the public and not just with a very small targeted audience in one organization. So I gave the application a fair.
Yeah, I gave it I gave this application a low, strong, and public benefit. I think there was some confusion about the community that they're serving. They talk about in the application, excuse me, that it's adults residing in Cuyahoga County and living with developmental disabilities and special needs, and yet really it's this subcategory of this community that resides at or meets its spirit of excellence, who's their partner for this proposal. That said, there's evidence of really meaningful relationships with this narrower community, and services are developed given the needs of each of the clients. And I really like that individualized service. And I thought there was strong evidence of respect for the participants, and communication between the music therapists and the participants and staff, and communication with the leadership of both of the partner organizations, I thought was evidence of really good collaboration.
I also gave, did I already give this? Did I already say? Can't remember. I gave strong in this category. I was looking at their website when it comes to just like one of their programming, and I like that they actually have where it's trauma informed. And I don't know why they didn't put that they focused on trauma in the application, but that's not that I've seen, but that's a big benefit. I think it's super important when you are creating programs, and especially with music therapy and art therapy, that we are trauma informed. And so I wish that they translated that to the application, but when I went to the website, I was like, oh yes, that's really great to have as far as how they're serving community members who are living with disabilities and whatnot.
We'll move next to artistic and cultural vibrancy scores.
Okay, I can go. So in this category, I grade them fair. So for me, artistic and cultural vibrancy goes both ways, who's doing it and who's attending it, right? So they do talk about it, who's doing the services, right? It's a music therapy something, but I really wanted to understand what is the breakdown of population, like who's attending it. So that's where I was debating between weak and fair, but of course I went with fair.
I also gave this application a fair in the artistic and cultural, because I didn't see any mention of that in that actual section. Talked a lot about the therapeutic value and data collection, evaluation, but not really any mention of artistic quality, the kinds of things. And so I gave, the proposal would have definitely benefited from that. So I gave it a fair.
Yeah, I was confused by the application in this category, and felt like they kind of avoided answering the question in some ways by sort of leaning on the evidence-based, research-supported field of that they're in, but they don't really explain why it still remains vibrant in terms of how they would evaluate the program and how they would evaluate the success of working with each of the clients that they're working with. So while I really like the program, I think it could have been stronger if there was more attention paid to this category.
We'll move on to our organizational capacity scores.
I can go if everybody's okay. I gave them fair here for the reason when they talk about there's like one professional they're planning to hire, and that's the project budget. And I was thinking like how much that one person can, every day, day to day, can take care of. So that was like a organization capacity score on the employer side as well, not the participants, like how you take care of your one person, like with just one person for this program. So that's why like I was like, it kind of, I know you have other staff, but just for this program. So I gave them fair. And I really wanted to know about the marketing, how this program is being marketed. So I did not find any evidence in that stability section.
I'll just quickly say that I agree with Aisha on the fact that the proposal is centered around one individual. That was a sticking point with me, and I rated it as fair.
Any last comments around In Harmony Therapeutic Services? Right, we will move on to our next application, Jennings Center for Older Adults. We'll do this application and then we'll take a short break after this one. So panelists, I'll give you a moment to find your notes here. So our next application from Jennings Center for Older Adults is for their project titled Gateway to Culture. Gateway to Culture helps connect Cleveland's rich arts and cultural offerings with older adults in Southeast Cuyahoga County who have difficulty accessing these opportunities. Programs connect older adults and their families with interactive distance learning, video conferencing with museums and lectures, as well as on-site performances, workshops, and intergenerational experiences. Would someone like to get us started around our public benefit notes?
Sure, I can go ahead. I rated this section at public benefit as strong. Thought that there was a good understanding of the public served and that there were evidence of partnerships, including both aging and arts groups, which is great. An understanding of the accommodations and adaptations that may be necessary for complete participation. However, I just had one note, and that was that the number that you had projected to be served did not match the number that you put in the goal section. And although that's just a small matter, you might want to look at that when you're actually developing your evaluation criteria, so that you know which number you're going to try to hit. But I overall gave it a score of strong.
This part I gave them strong because I thought the program is really good. But of course, once we get to other topics, I'll talk about it.
I echo that. I gave a strong, actually, no, I gave fair. I gave a fair. Sorry, I'm looking at this. I gave fair, the high fair in this category.
Do you want to speak to it at all?
I gave a high fair. I'm trying to remember because apparently I didn't write a note in this one. I feel like I gave a high fair for when I'm looking through this. I believe I gave a high fair because I believe there's room for improvement in this space, outreach, and yeah, that's what I have at this moment.
Any other comments around public benefit?
Yeah, I'll comment. I gave it a strong. I thought there was strong evidence of a program that's dedicated to learning from its participants. I think Jennings knows its community really well, both the participants and the surrounding community that it exists in. I really like the listening sessions that are described with the participants, which guide the programming decisions and also informs what assistance might be needed for the participants.
Thank you. With that, we'll move on to artistic and cultural vibrancy. Again, an organization's ability to create a quality project that inspires and challenges its community.
I can go first on that. I gave them fair here. I think it is mid-fair. I was really confused because they don't talk about the category. They basically say that they're going to museums, music and art. And if that's the culture and artistic vibrancy they're talking about, I think they need to mention it. And I understand they're established in big organizations and they can absolutely function. But I was really concerned the heaviest budget was going to one person again, like budgeting on like how strong that program and what kind of cultural vibrancy is going to be there if it's one person running the show. So that was my concern there.
I gave it a low strong in this category. I thought there was evidence of really strong relationships with the cultural partners that they're working with, who were willing to tailor what they're offering to the Jennings audience in particular. And the intergenerational programs I thought were really were strong evidence of the vibrancy of this program.
I also gave the application a strong in artistic and cultural vibrancy because of the caliber of the arts organizations that they are partnering with, and bringing my assumption was, and maybe you were blessed by my assumption, because it was that you were going to be bringing in those organizations as partners to provide the opportunities. Too often, when people are working with older adults, they feel that the quality of the art isn't important, and so I gave you strong because it's obvious that you are really also focused on the quality of the arts experience that you're bringing to these individuals.
Any last comments around artistic and cultural vibrancy? We'll move on to organizational capacity.
I gave a strong in this category. I believe that the team is well equipped. They have between all of them, they have like 60 years of, well, 40 something years of experience, which stood out to me. And yeah, that's what I have at this moment.
I also gave it a strong for the same reasons, but it would have helped me considerably if I had known how the supervisory staff was going to be actually involved in the project, and if the actual project budget was clear and explained how the CAC funding was going to be used specifically for this project, which made it a stronger proposal. But I did rate it strong.
Any last comments around organizational capacity here? Okay. Panelists can go ahead and submit their scores. We are going to take a short break before we turn to our next application, which is Jewish Federation of Cleveland. I think we'll take, does a 5-minute or a 10-minute break sound, what sounds good to our panelists here? 5 is okay for Tom. Does anyone want 10? Okay, we'll take a 5-minute break. But before we do that, I think that we did receive an applicant correction form that I quickly want to just make note of as well. It was a note from Berea Arts Festival. I think one of the panelists might have mentioned that there were only 3 events since inception, but they've had 32 events. Their 32nd one was on September 22nd of this year. And so I don't think everyone was mistaken on that. It might have just been a brief misstatement. But yes.
It was not misstatement, and when it was typo in the application.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So it's very clear 3 and 32. It was typo. But thank you so much. Yeah.
Thanks. Just wanted to make sure that everyone had that piece down. All right. So with that, we will take a 5-minute break. Jake, I think, can put a little timer on the screen. So feel free to take yourself off camera and put yourself on mute and step away for a moment here. All right, we'll give people just a second to come back. Do we have everyone yet? I can't tell if Devona's here. We'll wait another moment. All right. Our next application is Jewish Federation of Cleveland for their project titled Cleveland Israel Arts Connection, Row Green Gallery Exhibitions. The Row Green Gallery displays contemporary visual art by established and emerging Israeli artists, making it accessible to Clevelanders of all backgrounds and denominations. Would someone like to get us started around public benefit, which again is an organization's ability to meaningfully and authentically engage its community through its project?
I'll go. So I gave this proposal a strong, I felt that there was evidence of strong connection to the Cleveland and Northern Ohio Jewish community. I would have liked to have seen more information on outreach efforts outside of the Jewish community, as well as acknowledgement of any work that is being undertaken to ensure that the exhibits are accessible for visitors in wheelchairs, walkers, and with sensory disabilities. But I gave the application a strong.
I'll go. I gave this application a week in public benefit. And I found it difficult to understand where the engagement with artists would take place with the local community. There was a very broad potential community served. They quote from the application that says both Jewish and general audiences. But I didn't find adequate evidence of how these audiences would be engaged and how meaningful relationships would result. I didn't see evidence of the creation of this exhibit at all being responsive to the community. I noted that there was a gallery engagement committee, but it wasn't clear who is on that committee. And I appreciated that there was an interest in reaching out to schools in the area and that a curriculum would be developed for students to explore their own stories.
Tom, thank you, and Celia, thank you. I gave them fair, mid-fair, for the same reason, because the scope was really broad they were talking about, and out of country, in country. So I wasn't sure like which area they really want to focus and who they're trying to benefit from and to.
Any last notes around public benefit? We can move on to how the application connects with the artistic and cultural vibrancy criterion, which is an organization's ability to create a quality project that inspires and challenges its community.
I can go here. I gave this a fair for this category. I didn't see evidence of this project being based on collaboration with the community. This section of the application spoke more about the project that's happening now, the citywide project that's happening now, and didn't say much about the project that the funding that's being applied for. The project does describe showing the work of a diverse group of professionals, but I don't think that alone means that it's a vibrant project.
So I gave them fair too. And this one application, Julia, where I sent an email for the artistic and culture vibrancy, they talk about it but it's may or anticipate kind. Of course, the language is not there, but the gist of the paragraph is like they'll do it, but we don't there's no evidence what the action plan. So I gave them fair here.
I gave them a strong because I felt that their supporting documentation demonstrates that they adhere to high artistic and vibrancy standards. I didn't see it necessarily spelled out in the application. I think they tried, but I felt that their documentation gave me additional information as to their artistic quality. So I gave it a strong.
Devona, any notes?
I gave it a fair. I gave fair because in the write-up of the response to this category, it wasn't super clear on the question of how they will what they will bring, as far as arts and culture. The last part of the give me a second, I want to go to it. The last part of the category where they answered threw me off a bit because they were asking questions. And I know they were trying to give us an idea of what they asked kind of, and I can't find the category now. I'm because I'm scrolling. Give me a second. Okay, so it says in similar insights we gleaned from other artists, what themes are they exploring? What was their inspiration? What's their message? It's just all these different questions. And I'd like to have seen them kind of translate that into more of not being question-based, but more of a statement. That way it's not, they're answering a question with a question. That threw me off a bit, so yeah.
We'll move on to organizational capacity, which is an organization's ability to successfully plan for and manage its project.
I gave it a strong. I felt that there was a strong team in place and that the funding history is solid. And I thought that they provided good details for their project budget.
I gave them strong because, of course, I have no doubt that they can manage the project. So
I scored just a fair in this category, and clearly this is housed in a large organization. There's a qualified team in place. I was struck by the response to the question of how you'll proceed if the project doesn't receive full funding. The answer that they may be relying on Israeli works housed in domestic galleries if they had to not bring work over from Israel. But then they said that the majority of emerging Israeli contemporary artists don't have representation in the United States. So it seems like their plan B, there weren't enough galleries to go to satisfy the plan B. So it just made me question that they didn't have a good alternative plan for this. But I think that they seem qualified, and obviously they've been running this gallery for a while, and this project will happen. So I have it solidly in the fair category.
Any last notes around Jewish Federation of Cleveland? Okay, panelists can submit their scores for this organization. The next application we'll turn to is Kulture Kids in just a moment. The next application from Kulture Kids is for their project titled From Ancient Times to AJ Today. Through arts-centered learning, students will explore how ancient wellness and cultural practices still benefit and surround people today. Students, teachers, and community members of all ages work and learn together to grow and share healthy foods and create art. Would someone like to get us started around public benefit?
I can go ahead. I gave them strong. I don't have very strong, like I don't have very particular notes on this one. I don't know why, but I can look into it. But I think I was looking at this application and the public benefit. We're only talking about that one, the community, storytelling, dance, music, literature. It like talk about all genres of arts and culture. So I really was impressed like how they're trying to cover all aspects of it. So I gave them strong in this category.
I also gave them a strong. I felt that there was a really good definition of the community that they're working with and serving. And again, I like the fact that you have expanded the traditional DEI definition to include individuals with disabilities with a very purposeful intent. I appreciate that.
I also scored it as strong. I thought there's evidence throughout the application of really meaningful relationships with the Mount Pleasant district, the students, teachers, administrators, and family members and community groups. They clearly value the impact its program has across the community. The music, dance, yoga, and the creation of materials from the gardens to make soap and paper. I love that there's, you know, the gardening and the creation of something from the gardens was included here. And I just thought there's a really wide public benefit here. So it's very strong.
I echo Tom. I gave a fair in this category, high fair in this category. I have no extra additional feedback though.
With that, we can move on to artistic and cultural vibrancy then.
I'm going to echo what Tom said in his last critique. I gave them a strong for artistic and cultural vibrancy and felt that the artistic team that they've assembled indicates a plan for artistic and cultural vibrancy, the amount of different activities and their focus on a wide variety of disciplines and mediums to reach many people is very exciting. And I think that the combination of food with culture and art can create a really welcoming environment. And I appreciated that aspect of the proposal.
In this category, I gave a strong scoring. I gave a strong scoring also. I loved that in this particular category, there was a shared kind of like that testimonial. I really like to know more, like while it's nice to know the program, you kind of want to have like a little bit of a story or, you know, something that would share why they do what they do. And I really appreciated the story, the short snippet about Deshawn, who was a student working since pre-K days, but now is inspired and really wants to continue gardening. So I really just love those types of stories. And it just speaks to the category and demonstrates that very well.
Yeah, I also scored this as strong in vibrancy and loved Deshawn's little story there too. And I think there was evidence of strong partnerships and community support for the garden that was seen throughout the application. And I thought just overall that it's a really vibrant project.
All right, we can move on to organizational capacity.
I can go ahead. I gave them strong, and of course, I looked at the CTP website. They know what they're going to do with these funds if they get it.
I gave it a strong also. The staff is obviously experienced. There was one confusion that I thought that the application was and one aspect of the project was going to be actually to build the garden at AJ. And so I would have liked to have seen a gardening consultant or something like that in the major goal, or I saw that there was a garden manager in the budget, and so maybe I just didn't understand. But that was the only thing that I saw that I didn't quite understand. Is the garden already there, or are you building the garden, and through building the garden through these art and wonderful cultural aspects? And so that was the only thing that would have made it a little clearer in my mind if that had been laid out a little clearer.
Any other notes around organizational capacity here? Okay. Panelists can submit their scores for Kulture Kids, and next we will turn to Notre Dame College. Our next application from Notre Dame College is for their project titled Perform at NDC, Social Awareness. This project features 3 performing arts ensembles presenting a series of concerts centered around the theme of social awareness, Notre Dame College's Wind Symphony, concert choir, and theater. The project also features 2 high school honors ensembles. Does someone want to get us started around public benefit?
Yeah, I gave it strong because I believe that this is well what is the word well drawn out in the application. I don't know if what I'm going to speak to is going to be within public benefit, artistic vibrancy, or organizational capacity. I don't know what this falls under, but I love that in February, they'll be hosting a festival and really focusing on Black voices, right, of America. What I do want to see more so with a lot of organizations in this organization, this is not just an organization, it's a school, right? I love that the focus is on Black voices in February, but I think that we need to start expanding diversity and inclusion into into that being something that is all the time, not just in one specific month. While I do appreciate that that's what they want to do in that month, I think it's super important to look at creating, inclusive events and diverse events, especially centering around Black folk or BIPOC individuals that are not just focused in the month that they're celebrated. And so I had a little bit of a, I don't know what category that falls into, but I look at those types of things, and I know that people, want to, share in that theme right now. But I think it's really important to kind of take a step back and say, are we really being as diverse and equitable in the way that we do our programming? So yeah, I don't know if anybody would like to speak, anybody else wants to speak to that or sees that, but
yeah. I'll say we do want our comments to be tied to the funding criteria, Devona. So moving forward, I think you'll be able to make those connections. In particular, I'm seeing connections to public benefit, so you can try to coordinate with the framing of our funding criteria here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, speaking, this is looking again at the public benefit. I gave a strong and good understanding of community involvement. And I have sort of a similar comment in that I think that I love the new play development, the new play festival. I think that's a terrific idea. Looked at everybody who was represented, but no people with disabilities. And so I think that there's a wonderful opportunity there to expand and bring in voices of the disabled as part of your new play festival. But I did feel that you have a very good understanding of your community and involvement.
I gave them high fare in public benefit. I understand the work they're trying to do and what they're trying to reach out, and of course, different comments when we get to other areas.
Yeah, I also scored this as fair. Although I thought there was evidence of public benefit throughout the application, but it could have moved into the strong category if these relationships were described more fully. And I was really stuck on like merely inviting an audience to a performance series is not the kind of engagement, right? There's talk about creating a safe space to discuss these topics and workshops with the performances, but I don't see any planning for workshops in this performance series. So I was unclear where the engagement of the community to discuss these important topics of social awareness is offered beyond what might happen casually in the lobby after witnessing one of the live performances.
Thank you. We will move on to artistic and cultural vibrancy.
I just want to say once again that the attachments, the samples provided were well chosen and a good representation of the caliber of the performance aspect of your organization, the artistic caliber.
I gave them fair in this one, and I think I echo same Devana sentiment here. I wanted to see more. I wanted to hear more.
I also gave it fair in this category. I like the fact that there are these very qualified guest clinicians that are working with the artists involved here, but I didn't understand how they work directly with the community, even though that was indicated. And there's limited evidence in the application of any kind of co-creation and an evaluation process at the end of the project.
Thank you. We'll move on to organizational capacity.
I can go. I gave them fair. Of course, it's a big organization. I had no doubts that they can't do this project.
I also gave them fair, kind of a high fair, because I think they do have the capacity, but I think that in the project and the budget makes sense. But I was surprised to see it mentioned that there's a participation fee for the honor band and the choir. And there was no evidence provided of how progress is measured with the program.
Any final notes for Notre Dame College?
I'm the outlier here. I gave them a strong. I felt that I was just looking back and looking at a couple of things. I felt that the staff was well credentialed, and I understood their budget. And this is not their first time, so I felt that they had the capacity to do the project as presented.
All right, that concludes our time for Notre Dame College. Panelists can submit their scores. And next we'll turn to Open Doors Incorporated. So this application from Open Doors for their project titled Open Doors Academy Summer Program. ODA camps include music, performing arts, painting, drawing, and arts appreciation topics and field trips. Many of ODA's arts and culture camps are implemented through collaboration with local artists and arts organizations. Camps are provided during a 7-week period in June and July and are operated Monday through Thursdays from 8:30 to 4:30 p.m. Does someone want to get us started around public benefit?
Sure, I can go ahead. I really want to hear my team because I'm loving it how we all come, kind of enhancing each other comments. This application was really well written and well represented to me, and I gave them actually strong score here because excellent program and application actually provide the complete information how they will do it, when they will do it, how many hours. So public benefit was really amazing, like after school having a very good program.
I'll echo Aisha. I think there's really strong evidence throughout the application that they understand their community. They've clearly identified who it serves. They're committed to hiring a team of professionals that are reflective of the community that it serves. I really like that a lot. The camps are free of charge and accessible. I think the students served, they describe as 90% African American, and they've very intentionally chosen to hire Black teaching artists. And I think that's really just evidence of them kind of understanding who their community is and how to serve them best. That was a strong if I didn't say that.
I gave them a fair in this application, a high fair, because I was wondering how I read about the issues with students not coming to the program, and they had identified it as a potential problem with transportation, parents being able to be involved. And so I was wondering what the effort was to support these families to address those very serious barriers. And I was also wondering, what's the return rate from year to year? Are we seeing longevity in students coming and participating? And are the families active in the planning so that we can successfully address the challenges that students, because a lot of students, if they can't get someplace or if they don't have that kind of support, then they're not going to be able to partake. And I just want to make sure that all of the students who could benefit from this program have actually the ability to get there and to participate. So that was my question about the public benefit.
I like what you said, Celia. I still gave this a strong in the public benefit space because it's without a doubt this is a benefit, and I love that it's for the youth and for children. But I think what you're speaking to is more a little bit of when it comes to addressing the issues. That's to me seems more of an organizational capacity issue, which I'm sure we'll talk about that later.
All right, moving on to artistic and cultural vibrancy.
In this category, I gave a 29. I gave a strong in this category. I believe that the programming offered of what they're saying is right in alignment with the category that was mentioned. I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. So
that's why I can help you. Maybe you can start. I actually gave them strong here for artistic and cultural vibrancy because they talk about the program, like in each, like what kind of programs they will be and who will be teaching them. So I really love the whole aspect of the application, the notion of it.
I also gave them a strong, like the fact they've already started to identify and clarify their artist partners. Would like to know if the camps are process or product oriented. Do students attend 1 week only, or can they attend multiple weeks? I was just left with those couple of those questions about the actual involvement of the youth over the weeks of the festival, but I gave it a strong.
Any last notes around artistic and cultural vibrancy? All right, we can move on to organizational capacity.
I can go, I guess. In this, I gave them actually strong on the starting side because they do talk about the challenges and they do talk about it like how they want to, moving forward, they want to talk about it and do it. But I think I see a constant, there is a desire and there's a need of this project and they want to do it and make it happen.
I also gave it a strong, and because of longevity and the evidence of planning and the good partners, the team has been built. I don't know if the team has any sway in this, but the SMU data report, there was no narrative information provided, and they give you the opportunity to do that. And so I encourage everyone to use that data report and use that narrative section to really talk about your program a little bit, because it's another opportunity to help to share and clarify and to center your work within that data report. I don't know if that's something that you have to do every year, if this was just a one-time thing, but I encourage everyone to take every single opportunity you have to talk about your program and how it fits within your overall organization. But I did score strong in organizational capacity.
Yeah, I gave it a strong as well in this category, but I noted they had a $249,000 deficit that was shown in the data report, and that would be the perfect opportunity for that narrative you're talking about, Celia, where, you know, let's hear about the plans to, you know, why it happened, plans to fix the deficit. I mean, it seems like it was a result of COVID and employees returning back from COVID, probably sometime right, you know, in the middle of fiscal years. And, you know, so I understand how that can happen running organizations myself, but it, you know, let's hear more about it. That's a perfect opportunity.
All right, we are at time for Open Doors Academy. So panelists can go ahead and submit their scores here. The next organization is the Movement Project. Are all panelists doing well, feeling like we can keep chugging away? We've got 3 more applications to review. Great. The next application from the Movement Project is for their project titled Cleveland Dance Fest 2023. This is a 3-day festival featuring new works by Cleveland dance artists, visiting artists, and pre-professional artists. The festival includes 2 evening-length concerts for professional artists, an emerging works concert for works in progress by established or emerging artists, a youth showcase for pre-professional artists 12 to 18 years old, a virtual dance film gallery, and master classes for youth and professional dancers. Does someone want to get us started around public benefit?
I can. I gave this a fair in public benefit. I was unclear who the Movement Project sees as its community. I think the answer is Cleveland dance artists is the community served. Perhaps even a smaller subset of that is those artists who were selected for this festival. But the application mentions that they provide affordable and accessible dance education and performance to all communities. So there seemed to be some conflict there for me. The application states that they work to build strong relationships with our community partners and local organizations, but those aren't identified in the application. I thought it was good that they listen to and engage with their community, and that's they do mention that in the application, so that brought the score up a little bit, but I scored this as fair.
Thanks, Tom. I actually echo everything you said. I was going to make that comment, and I gave them high fair. No extra comments.
I too gave them high fair. And I have no additional comments. I echo Tom.
Okay, well, I gave them a strong. I said, but a little more information on the community partners would have made the presentation better. And I'm listening to what the other panelists have said about the good presentation of target community, and I'm looking back over that, so I have nothing else to say. I currently have given it a strong.
We can move on to artistic and cultural vibrancy.
I'll go ahead. Sorry, Tom. Oops. I gave it a strong. I thought it was a well thought out process in terms of how they were bringing on people. I like the fact that they have they say they have a diverse panel to invite and adjudicate participants, and I like the fact that the emphasis of their CAC funding was going to be supporting the artists.
I thought there was evidence throughout the application of artistic and cultural vibrancy, and I scored it a fair. I think I'll echo what Celia just said about the adjudication panel and the diversity of that panel. I thought that was really good. I wonder about the artists not selected for the festival. This goes back to my public benefit comment. And if any efforts are made to stay connected with those dancers and choreographers, the project provides marketing resources and production support, but it's unclear to me how that in and of itself inspires and challenges the community. So I thought this was a solid fair.
Any other notes around artistic and cultural vibrancy? We can,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I was looking just kind of like to see some examples. And there was only one. I don't know if I'm looking at, so I'm only seeing a testimonial of a past CDF artist, but there's not much, and the Vimeo I couldn't watch. So I don't really, there's just not much that I can really work with as far as that category. I don't know. Was anybody else able to watch the video?
I was.
On Vimeo? Okay, I was not able to watch that. So yeah, mine, it just keeps saying the privacy settings are off. So I don't know, but yeah, I gave that scoring. I still gave them a strong scoring. And that's, I have nothing else, no other feedback.
We'll move on to organizational capacity.
Sure, I can go. I gave them strong in that because they do have a good sales plan and how they want to implement it. But I was, of course, again, this is not a thing to make. So the other areas funding is coming from to fund this project. So I wanted to know a little bit more, what if there's a backup or anything like that. But overall, they did lay out the whole plan well.
So I gave them, oops, I keep clicking off that, I'm sorry. I gave them a low strong. I didn't see a plan in place to reach the goal of accepting BIPOC dance partners. There's the mention of 50% of your panelists are people of color. I'm wondering if that's current. Is that part of the goal? So I would have liked to have seen more about, and this, I know this is under capacity. I'm just wondering, I saw a disconnect between the goal and between the organizational capacity. However, I thought there were good details in the project budget, and so I rated this section as strong.
I rated this section as a high fair. The team assembled for the project is described really broadly. I would have liked to have understood, who's actually on the team and what qualifies them, in their roles for the project. I did note that there's a commitment to paying artists, and I thought that was great. And their expense budget that was included shows a lot more for admin personnel than the arts and culture professionals. That just stood out to me on this project in particular.
All right, we are at time for the movement project, so panelists can submit their scores here. And next we'll turn to Tremont West Development Corporation. The next application from Tremont West Development Corporation is for their project titled Tremont Arts and Cultural Festival. The Tremont Arts and Cultural Festival is a multiracial and multicultural festival featuring fine art, children's activities and programs, food booths, musicians, and performers. 2023 is the festival's 24th year in Lincoln Park in Cleveland's Tremont neighborhood. Would someone like to get us started around public benefit?
Sure. I gave them strong because public fairs involving all the communities good for any city culture vibrancy. So no, for any public benefit. So I gave them strong there, and I thought the narrative, everything was very well written.
I also gave them a strong. I do have one note, and that is that there's mention of members of the deaf community in the description that you're including them, but there's no mention of them or inclusion in the budget for ASL interpreters or any type of communication accommodation so that they can be fully included. But I felt that there was a good explanation and understanding of the overall public benefit in the communities that you were working with.
I rated this application as strong in public benefit. I thought the community was clearly identified and well surveyed, so they seem to make an effort to understand their community. And the process of planning the festival with community and the value of that process is noted. I guess this festival just happened this past weekend, and we missed our opportunity to go there this year. I would have liked to have attended, but they talk about the Lincoln Park location of the event, and they call it the public space of the neighborhood. I really liked that. It's sort of I could imagine what that might look like, and that would promote a constructive interaction of the community members. So I thought all of that was evidence of strong public benefit.
Any other comments around public benefit? We can move on to artistic and cultural vibrancy.
Okay, I can go. I gave them strong in their artistic and cultural vibrancy. They really talk about it each year, which communities they're addressing to. And next year they are talking about Arab American artists and hopefully they'll be able to do it. So I really appreciated how they laid out the whole platform, and I gave them strong there.
I gave them a high fair, and my comment was that there was some concern raised in the surveys about the decline in artist participation, and I would have liked to have seen that addressed in some way through the narrative about how they were keeping it's a really long-running, wonderful festival, but how they're keeping it fresh and new every year. I know the focus on the different cultural communities is, I think there has been a plan. This is going to be their last year of doing that. I think that so the cultural theme is a good effort, but I'd like to see them address some of the concerns that were raised in the survey about the reduction in artists participating and how they're going to keep it fresh.
I scored this a high fair in artistic and cultural vibrancy. I like this 5-year celebration of minority and underrepresented artists and the focus each year on a particular group, but this year's focus being Arab American artists. I think it would be even stronger in this category if it described specifically how it would inspire and challenge the community. I mean, I think we all kind of get that, but I think we can't assume that we're going to get that, so I think it was a high fair.
Okay, we will move on to organizational capacity.
I can address this. I gave them a strong in organizational capacity. However, I just lost my place here, but I'll go back to the data sheet. There was no narrative in the data sheet. I think that helping to use that narrative to tell your story better would be really helpful for people to understand the figures and how they relate to the project. However, your project budget was very clear, so I rated you strong.
Same here. I rated them strong due to their project budget and how they forecast, because more than 50% they have already in to host this. So that was a very strong thing for me to assess.
I rated this a low strong. There was evidence of collaboration with the community. I loved seeing the survey results. That really helps me, understand that they're working to learn what works and what doesn't work with the project. The project period was listed as just the 2 dates of the festival, and some of the funding, I mean, it would be appropriate that there's like planning period and some of the funds might be expended during that time. It's a picky point, but I think it's just maybe the period is a little bit longer for the project. So I gave this a low strong.
All right, any last notes around Tremont West? Panelists can go ahead and submit their scores. The next organization, which will be our last review this morning, is University Circle Incorporated, or UCI. I'm not sure what they're listed in the system as. So this application from University Circle Incorporated is for their project titled Circle Explorers Summer Camp. Circle Explorers is a 6-week camp for rising 6th, 7th, and 8th grade boys and girls. While campers engage in all the fun activities normally associated with camp, they explore points of interest throughout Northeast Ohio and learn what it means to be a sustainable community by focusing each week on a unique theme. That one was a mouthful. Would someone like to get us started around public benefit?
I can get started. I gave this proposal a high fare. I thought the narrative explained the project and the anticipated community served, but it was lacking in details about how the project goal to engage more parents might be executed. I would like to have seen some of that in the actual narrative. They also mention having an ASL interpreter, but again, no mention of existing or establishing ties within the disability and deaf communities. And so I encourage that if those ties and exist, if there's no existing relationship, to really begin to establish ties. So for that reason, I gave this proposal a high fare.
And I scored this as strong. I thought there was strong public benefit throughout the application. I like that they conducted a community needs assessment, and that they've had a community education department since 1973 that is charged with engaging residents of the surrounding underserved neighborhoods that surround University Circle. I think I did read evidence of parent advisory groups that are used to help shape the programming, and that they attend school parent organization meetings. So I think that I like that kind of engagement. And I thought that the program is created and evolves to meet the needs of the community. And I like that BIPOC-led organizations were sought out to connect with the camp groups.
Yes, Tom, they were definitely, I love that. The parent ambassadors is what they were calling them. I gave a strong in this category. I love when parents are incorporated and into programming like this. And it helps to continue to engage all community members. So yeah, I think that was, I love that.
Same here. I actually gave them high fare. Thinking about the way have they laid out the programming. It was really good. I was a little bit concerned about the high budget, like not be able to, implement it just for the summer program. But of course, I see a lot of benefits for the public.
Moving on to artistic and cultural vibrancy now.
I gave it a high fare again because I would have liked to. It includes a wide range of arts and cultural partners. The proposal would have benefited from a little more information about what the actual activities at the camps are, kind of an example of the kinds of things that the campers would be doing and experiencing.
I actually gave them, I'm sorry, yes. I gave them strong in this one because I really like the way they incorporate a budget for groups like museums and go to arts organizations and just have that kind of the leverage for students that they can enjoy that. Usually, that age kids, they're like, keep us away from art. So I really loved it. Like they're kind of in a group setting, they're doing it in a culture setting. So I gave them strong in that category.
And I'll also jump in. I echo my colleagues on this one, and again mention the parent ambassador groups that highlighted the need for quality summer experiences for their kids. And what really jumped out at me was the emphasis on neighborhood artistic assets. And they talk about a local entrepreneur who opens their studio, and and shows the the campers what they're doing in their studio, which I thought was really neat.
All right, moving on to organizational capacity.
Strong, and again, no doubts, like on low strong side, and I'm pretty hopeful they'll be able to manage it.
I gave it a strong because of their longevity, that they obviously know how to do this project and do it well and successfully. Would have liked a little more information about how the CAC funding would actually be used. And then, and again, with the project being, with this project being embedded in a larger organization with a larger budget, it's really important to lay out how this money is going to support specifically this project and how this project will benefit from the funding. But I did give the organizational capacity a strong.
Any final notes around University Circle Incorporated? Okay. Panelists can submit their scores for this organization. And I'll note that that was our last review of the morning. So I'm going to check in with my CAC colleagues. Are there any public comment or correction forms that need to be addressed? I don't think so, but quick double check. Oh, I couldn't hear you, Jake, but I think that was a no. So with that, I do want to just close it out here and thank our panelists for, your thoughtful comments and participation today. I do want to give each of the panelists a moment to share any general feedback around the process or the applications. And again, remind audience members that they can do the same via the online public comment form, which you can find at cacgrants.org/live. So again, I'll post in the chat for our panelists an order here that we can go through and just give each of you the mic for a moment if you have any final comments as a whole to share.
Okay, I want to thank all of the applicants for the time and effort and care they put into their applications and proposals. It was really evident in everything I read. I was very excited and wanted to attend everything that you presented. I think that there is a real strong commitment to the Cuyahoga community and to Ohio residents in general. And I think that I was really appreciative of the comments that a lot of my fellow panelists made. I think if you can listen to those comments with an open heart, I think that it will help you even present an even better proposal next year and bring in much more money from funders and organizers. I know it's a hard thing when you're slogging, doing the work every day, that you have to sit down and in just a few words convey to people the importance of what it is that you do. And you all are doing a great job at that. And I think with some of the comments that some folks brought up, I think you can even do a better job telling your story. So good luck and have a great 2023 year season.
Thanks, Celia. I really appreciate what you said. So, Julia, a couple of things for Julia, to you, Jake, and Jania. I absolutely love the system you use. And I do this multiple times a year. Like you go back and forth and up and top and like, you get frazzled what you're reading, what you're not reading. I really appreciated the system you use. And I would say highly recommend whatever you're doing with the system, and especially today panel, like it was timely managed and it was done in a proper way. And to all my peers, all the feedback, and actually you made me think about a couple of things which maybe I ignored, maybe I didn't pay attention. So exactly, through these panels, I always say that I learned to meet everyone where they are instead of changing them, instead of doing something. And I think these conversations are only healthy in that sense. We learn from it. And when you're running a nonprofit yourself, you understand how much big heart and big mind you have to have just to go through these processes. Again, it's been really a wonderful experience. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Celia and Aisha, for sharing. I appreciate y'all. The reason why I wanted to do this panel and I really wanted to have this experience was, one, because this is my first time on this end of being a panelist. And I wanted to know how that experience was. And also I learned so much about the Ohio and Cuyahoga area. And now with some of those applications, I'm like, I'll be at some of those events because I'm so excited about what Ohio is doing, and the arts seems to be flourishing. And I just really, really appreciate being able to be a part of this experience and hoping that there is some collaboration between Pennsylvania here in Erie and Cuyahoga when it comes to some of these people. But I really thank you for the process. And I agree with Aisha, this was such a organized process. When I first came to Erie Arts and Culture, we were, I worked as a program officer, and that was a challenge, trying to put a panel together and trying to gather, a different way and a system how to do this. So y'all were so organized, and I really appreciated this. And I feel like I'm going to take back some of these tools to my fellow program officers. Now, I don't do the panels anymore, but I really appreciated the process, and I thank you for this experience. And to the applicants, thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing your projects. I know that is a vulnerable space at times, and you're putting all your work out there and all those things. And so I really appreciated reading each and every application. And yeah, I say, like Celia says, keep going. And I hope the rest of your 2022 into 2023 year is a great flourishing one.
Yeah, I really appreciate my colleagues, and I learned so much through this process. We all are reading the same applications, and yet we take away different things. And I went back and adjusted my scores on a number of the applications, and it's just evidence that this process, where we get to communicate with each other and doing it with the applicants, listening in and watching, is a really unique experience. I mean, I don't know of anybody else who does it this transparently, and it certainly ups the ante for the evaluators. I think knowing that we're being listened to and watched through this process is just creates more of a responsibility for me as a panelist to be even more thoughtful about this process than I might be. And it's I give great credit to the staff at CAC, and just a comment for applicants. The idea of public benefit as being the major and highly weighted criteria for these applications is very unique to this community. We all come from places where, the first thing we're talking about is artistic quality. And so this is a change in mindset for me when I come to this community. And the fact that you're in that, and this is the major funder for your community, I think there's even more opportunities to think about how your organization or your project can really focus on public benefit, because that's what we're scoring on. That's what CAC is funding. And and I think it may require a change of mindset on the applicant's part to really think about where the public benefit lies. I don't think CAC could be any more clear about what that criteria means to them. But if it's not clear to you, I know for a fact that they're open to you asking them more questions and really understanding that. And I'd also suggest, as listening to all of the feedback for all of the organizations. I know some of you just tune in for your organization's feedback on your application, but I think there's a lot to learn from the feedback to all of the organizations. And just one more thing, I like this new format of being in a smaller group of evaluators and doing a smaller number of applications. I've been involved here when we've had quite a bit more, and it was like a full-time job for a few weeks to prepare for this. And even though it takes a lot of time to get prepared for even this number of applications, this is a far more reasonable size of applications for us to do in the kind of thoroughness that you want us to do it in. So I appreciate that change.
Thank you. Thank you, all of the panelists. We are taking notes on everything you're saying, and it really means a lot to us. This is how we tweak our system every year to try and make it a little bit better for you guys and, of course, for our applicants. So, again, that's what that public comment form is for our applicants online as well. So this concludes our panel. Listeners can plan to continue to listen in. We'll pick up with Border Light Festival at 1 p.m. And panelists, I'll ask you to stay on the call as we close the live stream in just a moment.